Hi there, and welcome to the Salt and Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today we are gonna make a no-fuss fudge. Seriously, this is so easy and it's so delicious. I can't wait to share this recipe with you. We're gonna do it in the Ninja Foodi, of course, and I've already have the Ninja Foodi preheating on broil, which is 425 degrees, but you can't set the temperature or anything. And we're gonna preheat it for 10 minutes. So I have a few more minutes to go. So while that finishes up, let's talk about the ingredients that I have here. So I'm gonna make a rocky road version of this no fuss fudge, but you could use whatever add-ins you want to make this fudge taste exactly the way you want it to. So what I'm using is a half of a cup of almonds. You could use walnuts or pecans or peanuts, whatever you like, or skip the nuts altogether. No problem there. And then for Rocky Road, we have to have marshmallows. So I have 2 ounces of the big marshmallows because that's what I had here. You could use the little ones, but what I'm gonna end up doing is just breaking these apart to make little smaller sizes. And then of course, we can't have a chocolate Rocky Road no fuss fudge without chocolate. So I have 18 ounces of chocolate chips here. And what I decided to do is use a combination of semi-sweet and dark chocolate chips. So I've got the 2 different kinds here. You can even see the difference in sizes. That's not gonna create any issues. You could use all milk chocolate, you could use all dark chocolate, you could use a combination, use semi-sweet, whatever you want, whatever chocolate you wanna use is fine. We have a teaspoon of vanilla extract here. I have a little bit of salt. We're just gonna add a pinch of salt because even in desserts, a little bit of salt will bring out all the other flavors. So it's important, but we're just gonna use a pinch. And then I have 1 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk. So with this fudge, it's basically pour it all in the pan, get it into the Ninja Foodi, cook it up, and then let it set up in the refrigerator. It's super, super easy. You don't have to worry about getting to 235 degrees Fahrenheit for the softball stage. You don't have to worry about even having a thermometer. This is no fuss fudge. So the first thing we're gonna do is toast the nuts because you want to have whatever kind of nuts you're using, you want them to be lightly toasted. And the Ninja Foodi is a great way to do that. So as soon as we finish preheating for 10 minutes. I'm gonna dump these in and we'll go on broil for somewhere between 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, so the Ninja Foodi finished preheating on broil for 10 minutes, and now we're gonna dump in the almonds. Now I have the basket in, I forgot to mention that earlier. So the basket's also preheated. I'm just gonna dump those in whole. You want them to be whole at this point, and go back on broil. And we're gonna take it to 5 minutes. Now I'm gonna check it periodically because I don't want them to burn. Once nuts start to toast up, they burn pretty quickly, so you wanna keep an eye on it. So I'll check it in about 2 minutes and see how they're doing. So the next thing we need to do is get our pan ready. And this is a 6-inch Fat Daddy-O square pan. The inside is 6 inches. The outside lips are 7 inches. That's something important to keep in mind when you're ordering accessories as well, because you need to take into consideration what the lip size is. So this is about the biggest that will fit in the Ninja Foodi, but it's perfect for the fudge we're gonna make. Now you could use a round cake pan. That's not gonna matter. You're just gonna have rounded edges. So don't feel like you've got to run out and get one of these, but I bought it because I thought it would come in handy and it's gonna be perfect for the fudge. All right, the next thing we wanna do is get our parchment paper. This is extremely important. If you don't use the parchment paper, you won't be able to pull the fudge out. You will be able to cut it in there and lift it out, but you won't be able to get it out and get those perfect squares that you want. So I'm just gonna take a good sized square here. And this is no fuss. I'm not gonna worry about being perfect. I'm just gonna push it in there. This is a fun little dessert to make, and we don't need to make it complicated by wanting straight edges. So I'm just gonna push it down in there, no problems whatsoever. Let's check on these real quick because it's been about 3 minutes. And again, I don't want them to burn and I can smell them. They are done. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So now they need to cool before we can crush them, but that's fine. We've got time because we're not going to add those almonds in until after the fudge has finished cooking. All right, so I'm just going to set these over here. Once they're cool, I'll get them crushed up. All right. So once your parchment is into your pan and pushed down, then we just dump and cook. So we're gonna dump in our chocolate chips. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention too is that you could do this in a different pan and then pour it into here, which makes it a little bit easier at the end when you go to stir. But because I wanted this to be no fuss, I want it to be one pan, that's it. We're making it super quick, so I did not do that. We're gonna use this same pan for cooking and for cooling and for storing our fudge. All right, then we're gonna dump in our sweetened condensed milk here. All right, that looks good. And that's it. Now we need to cover it. So I'm probably gonna stir this just a little bit. You don't really have to because you're gonna stir it at the end after cooking anyway, but I'm just gonna go ahead and get it kind of mixed up a little bit. I think that'll help the chocolate disperse through the sweetened condensed milk. So we'll just do that. So we gotta make sure we get all of our chocolate chips off there. Perfect. Now, you know, sweetened condensed milk is really sticky, so I'm going to put those in there until we're ready to use them again. Now, there's a couple of things you can do to cover this, and it is very important that you cover it. You need to protect it from the water. We're going to go under steam, so there's going to be water, and as the steam builds, there can be condensation that will drip down onto the chocolate. Chocolate and water do not get along at all, so we don't want to introduce that into the chocolate, or you're not going to end up with fudge. You're going to end up with a seized up glob of chocolate, and it won't be very good. You could use something like this, which I've been using a lot lately. I love them. They're silicone. They take the place of the foil when you're going under pressure or like we're going to do steaming. But if I wanted to use this, I would have to really trim all of this up so that the edge was exposed so I knew I got the right seal. So instead of wasting time with that, I'm just going to cover with foil. But you can do it however you like. Just make sure that it is covered and covered well. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to actually keep my parchment paper here, but I'm going to tuck this underneath. There's a little lip here and I'm pushing it all the way underneath. I want to keep all the water out. This is even more important than when you're making cheesecake. You really need the water to be kept away from the chocolate. And there's one little piece here that kind of tore. This is how serious I am. I'm going to put another piece over top of it. I don't want that parchment to get wet and then any water get in there because that will ruin the fudge. So there we go. Now we've got a double layer. We are really protected now. All right, so we put the pan on the rack. Notice I didn't add in the vanilla. I didn't add in any of the other ingredients because you don't do that until after you melt the chocolate with the sweetened condensed milk. 2 cups of plain tap water into the bottom. I always recommend at least 2 cups when you're going under the steam function because unlike pressure cooking, steam, you will have evaporation and you don't want to run out of your water midway through steaming. Now this is only a 5-minute steam, so probably a cup would be fine, but just to be on the safe side, I will put in the 2 cups and then I know it's good to go. All right, we lower that in. Put our pressure lid on. For steam, we go to the vent. And when you vent, you don't just push it over towards the vent, you actually click it over even further and it lifts up a little bit. And that is when you know that it's vented. So that's very important. And we're gonna set the steam for 5 minutes. And hit start. And that's it. So this will take a little bit of time to heat up and start producing the steam. It's the exact same thing as when you pressure cook. You'll see this going around and around and around until the water's hot enough and steam starts to be produced. And then you'll start to see it coming out. Sometimes it comes out full force. Sometimes it just kind of trickles out. Don't worry about it. The Ninja Foodi will take care of regulating all that. You can just ignore this until your 5 minutes is up. Then we'll get all the rest of the ingredients in, and we'll get our fudge in the refrigerator to cool. All right, so while the Ninja Foodi heats the water and brings the pot up to steaming for 5 minutes, let's get our other ingredients ready, because once it finishes steaming, we need to stir those in really fast before the fudge cools down and sets up. So we want to have everything ready to go as soon as it's finished. So I'm just going to take these nuts, which have cooled down nicely now, and pour them into this bag here. Now you could do this in a food processor as well. That would be fine. I'm just kind of old school, and if I can do it by hand, I do it by hand. All right, and I'm gonna use my meat tenderizer. And I did the same thing when we crushed up the cookies for the key lime pie, which is another easy, delicious dessert, and I will link to that right up there. All right, so I'm just gonna take my little meat tenderizer is what this is. It's got two sides to it. There's a spiky side and a flat side. So this is great for pounding chicken, and this is great for tenderizing meat, and it's heavy. I mean, it does the trick. So you don't have to put any strength into this. You can just let it fall down, and it really works great. So I'm just gonna crush these up. You can make them as big or as little as you want. I'm just gonna kind of let them decide what size they wanna be. Just run this across. I don't want any to be completely whole though, so I'm gonna make sure I don't have any that are whole. All right, that looks pretty good. I think I got them all. All right, so that's good. They're nice and chunky. And while I was doing that, I was thinking about my mom, because my mom loves Almond Joy. And I was just thinking, you know what? I could toast coconut, toast almonds, use all dark chocolate, and make the best Almond Joy fudge. Maybe even use a little bit of coconut extract instead of vanilla. So this is a very basic recipe that you can customize in so many different ways. All right, now if there's one that's whole, I'm just gonna go in here and just kind of see if I can break it up a little bit. That one's a little stubborn. There's a couple that I didn't quite get, so I'm gonna take those back out. I don't want them completely whole in the fudge. Pieces, great. Whole, not so great. And I'll just take this and good. Good deal. Oops, one more. Half is fine. Okay, perfect. Now, those marshmallows. Now, if you're using the small ones, you don't really have to do anything to them. But since these are bigger, I'm gonna go ahead and cut them up. You can see we've come under steam now, so any minute now, we're gonna go to the 5-minute countdown. So the steam is coming out. You're not gonna be able to hear me. I'm just gonna cut up these marshmallows. All right, so that's all done. I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up, have my mix-ins ready to go, give my hands a wash because they're super sticky right now. By that time, we should be down to 0, and then we can finish up our fudge. It's that easy. I told you, no fuss fudge. Okay, so we just have a few seconds to go before our 5 minutes of steaming is done. There's still some steam coming out, and it's done now. You don't have to worry about releasing any pressure because we didn't build any pressure, so the lid will come right off. But that steam is still hot, so when you're steaming, do it away from you so that you force the steam away from your face and your arms and everything. And then I just usually just let it kind of let the steam dissipate a little bit before I reach in there and get whatever's steaming, because you can get burned by steam pretty easily. My Mickey Mouse gloves. I love them though. These are the best gloves I found to go inside and really work with the Ninja Foodi, because you still have the dexterity of picking up hot things, but you're completely protected. So I have these in my Amazon shop, and I'll also link to them below. Now, one thing, if you want to pick up a pair, and I got some chocolate on there already. Oh well. When you want to pick up, if you want to pick up a pair, they are sold single, so you need to order 2, and they're $8 a piece. Well worth the money. I love them. All right, now I can go in here and pick this up. Get the pan off the rack. Now we still want to be careful about removing the foil, because we don't want the water to get inside the pot at all. So I'm going to take these off. Foil will cool down really fast. So will the aluminum pan after steaming. So just in about a minute, I'll be able to do this with my hands. In fact, it's already really cool enough. But I want to be super careful, so I'm going to lift this layer up and just dump it over so that nothing got into the fudge. And you know what? I'm liking the double layer. I think I would suggest that from now on, is just do a double layer if you're not going to do another covering, if you're going to do foil. That way, the top collects it. There's no chance you're going to get it in there. That was pretty good. All right. Now, again, when you're lifting this off, be careful, just in case it's got steam coming out, which this doesn't look like it does. And it looks pretty much like when we put it in. So that's what you expect. It's fine, no problems there. So it's melted chocolate, like they're just slightly melted. They will completely melt as we stir them. All right, so you can see here that they're just slightly melted. And I can't tip it towards the camera too much more because I don't want that sweetened condensed milk to pour out on my cutting board. All right, now we're gonna get our ingredients in, and we're gonna get them in kind of fast. The first thing I'm gonna do is take that pinch of salt. And I just mean a pinch. So that is probably maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon or less. Dump in our vanilla. And then we're gonna dump in the nuts and the marshmallows. Now, when I was testing this recipe, what I noticed is the sweetened condensed milk likes to be in the corner here. So when I start moving this around, I really want to get whatever I'm using, which is the scoop and spread here, into the corners to mix in that sweetened condensed milk with the chocolate. Otherwise, you're going to have like a little bit of the sweetened condensed milk on the bottom of your fudge, which doesn't affect anything at all. It really doesn't. But I want this to look like complete chocolate fudge, and I don't want that little lighter color. So I'm going to be real careful in the corners here. That's where I noticed it the most. As I'm stirring, I'm already noticing it thicken up. This is what I mean. You got to move kind of fast with this. I just want to get all this, all the sweetened condensed milk combined in with the chocolate. And it's starting to thicken. Yeah. This is so cool, though. I mean, I just cannot believe that you can make a really good fudge. I mean, it's a good, now it's sweet, but it's a nice tasting fudge. So easy. Because if you've ever made candy before, candy can be tricky to make. All right, that looks good. I'm starting to really it's starting to get stiffer and stiffer. So now I'm just gonna smooth out the top the best I can. I mean, this is homemade, so it being a little rustic is not a problem. But I'm just gonna put those marshmallows down a little bit, get it covered. And that's it, guys. We just made fudge. All right, so now this goes into the refrigerator, and you can keep it in the refrigerator for a couple of hours. Probably it'll take about 4 hours to completely chill so that we can lift it out and cut it into those nice squares that we all know and love to be fudge. Or you can leave it overnight, or it would even stay fine for a couple of days. So I'm gonna pop it in the fridge, and then we're gonna get to cutting it and tasting it. All right, so our fudge has been in the refrigerator for about 2 hours, and I'm gonna go ahead and try to cut it now. So in order to get it out of here, it's super easy. All you have to do is just lift up, and that's why we use the parchment paper. Otherwise, you'd be trying to cut down into the pan, and it's just easier with the parchment paper. And then you can just pull back the edges, and you'll have your nice block of fudge. Now, on some of these edges here, remember when I talked about how we were stirring it and I was really trying to be very careful? There is a little bit of the sweetened condensed milk Don't freak out about that. It's no problem whatsoever. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off of the parchment paper all the way so I can show you the underside as well. Try not to get my hands too dirty. It is, I mean, it's solid. You can touch it. All right. And really, it did a great job. So there's a couple of pieces from the outside just flaking off. No big deal. All right. So it looks beautiful. So this is what I'm talking about here. There's a little bit of sweetened condensed milk that I just didn't get stirred in. Not a problem at all, okay? You could brush it off if you want or just leave it there. It's no big deal. All right, so let's dig into it. So you can cut your fudge, of course, in whatever size pieces you want. I know it's very rich, so I'm not going to cut it too terribly big. So take a sharp knife, and you want it to be a fairly long knife, and go straight down. And look how beautiful that is. Like I just feel like I'm in a candy making shop and I just made this beautiful fudge. And I did in the Ninja Foodi. It's incredible, right? No worries about time or temperature. How exciting. All right, I'm gonna take a piece here. Oh, wow. This is perfect. So what you look for in a fudge is consistency of the chocolate. It shouldn't look dry and crumbly. It shouldn't look chalky. And what we have here is perfect. I am super excited. This might even be better looking than the batch I made the other day. Oh, I'm so excited. All right, now most important part, let's taste it. Oh my goodness, you're gonna love this. It is the best fudge I think I've ever eaten. So what I did differently this time is I toasted those almonds. I didn't do that in the test batch. World of difference. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's creamy. It's chocolatey. Those roasted almonds are so good in here. This is a winner, so easy. And you can customize it any way you'd like. In fact, I have a great idea. What about s'mores fudge? That would be super easy, wouldn't it? All you'd have to do is break up little pieces of graham crackers or even use the golden graham cereal. That would be good too. With some marshmallows, mix it in just like I made this one, and you've got s'mores fudge. The sky's the limit with this one, guys.